Why am I starting this podcast episode off with screaming and shouting? Stay tuned to find out. I'm sure you're not that surprised to find out that I like to share as much knowledge as I have around Punjabi music. So when I teach my class, today, as an example, I interrupt every so often the flow of the movement and I ask, who's your favorite artist? Or do you know who this singer is? And it's fascinating to me is that as the years go on, less and less people know. People who do know, it's usually they know Miss Pooja or Jazzy B, or sometimes people even get confused and say artists that are not from a Punjabi, not from the Punjabi music industry. So it makes me feel like this podcast is even more important. Now, is it that I think, everyone should know Punjabi music? No, not as such. But, and I'll come on to this later in the podcast, I'm a really big believer in the way of moving to Punjabi music, also known as Bhangra. The way of moving is very good for exercise. We'll come to that in a moment. But doesn't it help knowing a little bit about the music? You don't have to necessarily know what all the meaning is of the words, but maybe like the artist's name, maybe just the meaning of the chorus or the title of the song, something like that. So anyway, that's what I try and do in my class. And I encourage you to spend some time listening to new music rather than something that's 15, 20 years or 3 years old. Even to me, that's old school. So what you've just listened to, let me explain the backstory. So in the class, we were talking and I put some music on. And during the cool down, during stretches, I was explaining that there was this artist a couple of years back. She was really popular. I felt like she's going to be the next big thing. She's going to release loads of music. She's got such a strong voice. She's got so much John, so much energy and life in her singing. I thought she was going to be a really big thing. But then I think something happened. And I think it was what you can hear, the screaming and shouting. I think, and I'm not 100% familiar with this because I don't watch these sorts of things, I think it's India's version of Big Boss. If I'm wrong, correct me, comment and help me understand. Oh, it says there, Afsana Khan fighting Big Boss first day. So I find out these things on Instagram or TikTok or something. So I'm not fully versed. But what I noticed was that after this argument, all of a sudden she's not as popular. So just anyway, that's what I was explaining during the cool down. I thought she was going to be a really big thing. And then after she showed herself being so aggressive and so on, I almost feel like no one wanted to work with her after that point. So there you go. That's the backstory of Afsana Khan so far. Who knows? Maybe her popularity will come back in the near future. Incidentally, I was talking about Gurlez Akhtar before I was talking about Afsana Khan, because Gurlez Akhtar makes so much music, and I've got some great tracks coming up for you. And I was explaining how she's so popular at the moment, or at least she's very productive. I hope she's popular because she's very good. But then she's very productive. She's making new songs so frequently. Sometimes I see a new song every week, Gurlez Akhtar, or featuring Gurlez Akhtar constantly. I don't know how she does it. It's like she's a robot making all this music. So I'm going to play in this episode, I'm going to play 2 Gurlez Akhtar tracks. I'll come to those later. But let's start with an Afsana Khan song. So this is the one in particular that I really like. There are quite a few good ones. This is the one where she collaborated with Sidhu Musiala. And Sidhu Musiala, as you may know, was murdered in 2022, last year, almost coming up to a year in May. So Afsana Khan and Sidhu Musiala collaborated on this. And this was one of those songs where up until that point, I didn't think much of Afsana Khan. I didn't think much of Sidhu Musiala. It was like they were both sort of just, they're on the radar. I heard their songs every so often. But this song really, for me, made the difference. After this, I thought, wow, these two are good, really amazing vocalists, and I really like this song. So I hope you like it just as much as I do.
ਸਾਡਾ ਮਿੱਠੀਏ ਤੇ ਹਾਈ ਬਟਾਣਾ ਸ਼ੇਰ ਕਰੇ ਚੇਂਜ ਬੱਲੀਏ ਡਿਵਾਈਡਰ ਤੂੰ ਛੱਡ ਆਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੀ ਆ ਹਿੱਕਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਚਾਰ ਦੀਏ ਰੇਂਜ ਬੱਲੀਏ ਔਕਾ ਤੇਜ ਤੇ ਕਲੇਸ਼ ਦੇ ਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਮਰਜੀ ਭੱਜ ਭੱਜ ਪੈਣੇ ਨਹੀਂਓ ਨਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ 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 ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ
ਹੋ YouTube ਲੈ ਕੇ ਅਖਬਾਰਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਵੇ ਚਰਚੇ ਹੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਵੈਰੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕਲਾਕਾਰਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਵੇ ਤੀਰੋ ਕਾ ਵਾਂਗੂ ਤੇਥੋਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਐਵੇਂ ਜੱਟਾ ਲੀਡ ਕਰਦਾ ਮੰਡੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਸ ਚੋ ਜੋ ਹੁਕਮ ਦਾ ਯੱਕਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਜੱਟਾ ਸ਼ਰਿਆਮ ਤੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਧੱਕਾ 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 ਕਰਦਾ
ਆਓ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੋਂ ਆਪ ਬਣਿਆ ਗੱਭਰੂ ਨਾ ਬੁੱਕੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਹੋਰ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਆਓ ਲੋਕ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਸਕੀਮਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਕੱਢਦੇ ਆਂ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਆਓ ਟਾਈਮ ਨਹੀਂਓ ਬੀਬਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਡੰਡਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਐਵੇਂ ਨਹੀਂਓ ਲੋਕ ਖਾਲੀ ਰਾਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ 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 ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ
in association with the streets.
ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ
ਹੋ ਤੇਰਾ ਜੋ ਸਟਾਈਲ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਜਿਉਣ ਦਾ ਕਈਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਰਾਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਸੌਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਕੋਡੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਵੇ ਤੂੰ ਬਾਜੀ ਜੰਡ ਵਰਗਾ ਕੁੱਟਦਾ ਵੀ ਵਾਲਾ ਏ ਤੇ ਰੋਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਉਹ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਏ ਰੋਬ ਜੱਟ ਦਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਨਾ ਕਰੋੜਾਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਲੱਖਾਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਜੱਟਾ ਸ਼ਰਿਆਮ ਤੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਧੱਕਾ 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 ਕਰਦਾ ਵੇ
ਆਓ ਅਜੇ ਬਸ ਟੀਜ਼ਰ ਦਿਖਾਇਆ ਮਿੱਠੀਏ ਫਿਲਮ ਤਾਂ ਰੱਖੀ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਫਿਰਦਾ ਆਓ ਮੂਸੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਜੱਟ ਨਾਟ 11 ਵਰਗਾ ਕੱਲਾ ਹੀ ਇੰਡਸਟਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਖਿੱਚੀ ਫਿਰਦਾ ਆਓ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਸਾਲ ਸੁਰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈਣ ਦੇਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਗਾਣੇ ਦੇਖੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਠਾ ਠਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਏ ਧੱਕਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ 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 ਆਓ ਜਿਹਦੀ ਕਿਸਮਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹਿਣਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਦੱਸ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿੰਜ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਠੱਲੂ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਲੀਕ ਕਰ ਲਿਓ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਵੀਕ ਕਰ ਲਿਓ ਓਏ ਇਹ ਮੂਸੇ ਵਾਲਾ ਪੁੱਤ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਉਨਾ ਹੀ ਚੱਲੂ
There you go. That was Afsana Khan and Sidhu Musiala. Takka. I may not be really pronouncing that as well. It doesn't feel right when I say it. But essentially, I think it means push. So let's talk about, I mentioned earlier in this podcast about the value of exercising to Punjabi music. I mean, on the one hand, if you like Punjabi music, then that's beautiful. You know, that's like, well, okay, well then if you exercise to it, it's going to be good for you. But here's the thing, you don't have to really be a huge fan of Punjabi music. It's kind of like I almost want to call it a chicken and egg sort of situation, which is you can either start liking Punjabi music or you can grow up liking Punjabi music and then exercise to it. But of course, it's the other way around as well. You can start exercising to it, not having really a lot of experience or interest in Punjabi music. And what should happen, I hope, is that you gradually start to like it. So let's focus on the exercise part. Why I think this cycle of liking it, liking, exercising is a good habit to build. When I compare different types of dance styles, thinking about the Punjabi style versus, and I'm talking about big arms, big legs versus, say, Latino style or hip hop style, the thing that makes Bhangra for me very special is the big movement. It's the bouncing, it's the big leg movement, it's the big arm movement. And what does this ultimately do? It makes your heart beat faster. So that's, of course, really important from a fitness point of view. But let me go a bit deeper and help you understand something. There's a measurement which many athletes use, especially runners. So I'm looking at this article at the moment. It's in Runner's World, and it's called Take It to the Max. And I'll just read out the title here, the subtitle. It says, your VO2 max is one of the most important metrics in running fitness. Understanding it and how to nudge it to the right direction will give your performance a boost. And then I'll just read down a little below. It says, in short, VO2 max is an indicator of your cardiovascular endurance. In technical terms, it's the maximum volume of oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. This is also sometimes referred to as your maximum aerobic power. It matters because during aerobic exercise, the cells in your body use oxygen to create energy. That energy is what your muscles, including your heart and lungs, then use to power that run, or in our case, that dance. The more oxygen your body can consume and use to create energy, the longer you can sustain your run or any aerobic exercise at a particular intensity level, and the higher your max, or in this case, VO2 max. I won't read any further. The key point is, many people's metrics when it comes to exercising is focusing on things like how many calories am I burning, how much weight am I losing, possibly how many steps am I doing. And these are all really useful. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to ignore them. But in the fitness world, there is this sort of like hierarchy, like what is the most important measurement? And from what I can see, from a medical point of view and a sports science point of view, VO2 max is right up there. So measuring VO2 max, which you can do on many sort of fitness trackers these days, I believe Apple Watch since about version 5, I think it was, Fitbit and many others, you can look at it and you can read your changes in VO2 max. And loosely, it says it in that article, but loosely it means how much of the oxygen that you're breathing in is getting into your extremities or getting into your muscles and getting to the ends of your fingers, for example. So that's the first thing, being able to measure your VO2 max. So naturally your mind might go to, well, how do I, if my VO2 max is poor or just okay, how do I make it better? The answer is high intensity interval training. Now what that means in terms of what we do from our exercise point of view is the opposite of regular amounts of intensity all the way through. So if there's something called the Borg scale, where like a 5 would be a moderate amount of intensity. So that might be like going for a jog around the block, or most dance classes actually, they don't go beyond a 4 or 5, maybe a 6 at the most. And it's sort of like it's starting to get a bit tiring, but you can sustain it for minutes, maybe even like 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. That's not intense intervals. Intense intervals, and if I compare it to jogging and sprinting, so those are both examples of running. But if you're not familiar with the difference between jogging and sprinting, let me highlight it to you. So think about your street. Jogging would be trying to go around your block or to the end of the road and back without reducing your speed. So it means running all the way, running to the end of the street or around the block and back. And you know that maybe the first couple of times you do that, you might have to stop. But after a bit of practice, you'll be able to sustain a jog all of that period. Sprinting, on the other hand, is something different. I mean, to the uninitiated, they're both running. And if you're scared, if you're like not a native to running, then they both can feel a little bit weird. But I'm sure you can understand that sprinting is not about going for as long as possible. Sprinting is trying to remove all the energy from your body as quickly as possible. So typically anybody sprints for more than about 15, 20, maybe 30 seconds is not sprinting. So meaning if you can go beyond 30 seconds, you're not sprinting. You're not pushing into that headroom of your capability. A genuine sprint is one where you cannot do it for more than 30 seconds. But I would say 20 to 30 seconds. And that's the difference between jogging and sprinting. Your body is using different energy systems. So with a jog, you find this way of using a combination of your breathing and your energy systems, and you can sustain it. People with a reasonable amount of fitness can go for 10 kilometers or more, and it's okay. It's about an hour and just keep going. Sprinters, on the other hand, it's more around like 20 seconds and you're done. You might need to lie down after 20 seconds. That level of intensity is what makes the difference. So the question is, between jogging and sprinting, which one boosts your VO2 max? And from what I can see, the overwhelming evidence is that sprinting makes the difference. So that's really great, because you might think, well, going around my block takes half an hour to jog. But if I sprint a few times down the street, so you might sprint for 20 seconds, take a rest. And that rest, by the way, might be like a little walk. Sprint again for 20 seconds, take a rest. Sprint again for 20 seconds, take a rest. Let's say you do that as many times as you can, which for many of us isn't many times, like maybe 10 times is a bit of a stretch, a bit of a push. So that means you maybe 30 seconds sprinting, 30 seconds rest, that's 10 minutes. So if it takes you, say, half an hour to go around the block, but it only takes you 10 minutes to sprint up and down your street, isn't it interesting that that 10 minutes can do more for you, i.e. boost your VO2 max, than the half an hour of jogging? Many of you know this already, but to some people that's a real surprise, especially all those plonkers that I see running around jogging on the on the streets. Clearly they don't get it. They haven't got the memo. Jogging is essentially wasting your time, unless for some reason you enjoy wearing tight leggings and showing it off in the neighborhood or something. You know, maybe you get a kick out of that. But from an exercise point of view, you could do better things with that extra 20 minutes. So it's the same with dance-based exercise. If you can cycle through intensity, you're going to do more for your heart, you're going to do more for your body than keeping the same amount of intensity all the way through. All right, that's enough on VO2 max. Let me move on to the next song. I mentioned earlier on, I'm going to be playing two songs with Gurlez Akhtar. This one is Gurlez Akhtar and her husband, Kulvinder Kalli. It's called Responsible. It's pretty new. I like that Deep Jandu has been involved and somehow Karan Aujla has been involved. Now, by the way, Deep Jandu and Karan Aujla, both really good on the music scene. They're Canadian. Deep Jandu, I'm a huge fan of his in terms of the music he produces, and he also applies his vocals to many songs, so he's multi-talented. Karan Aujla as well. I believe Karan Aujla is also big on writing songs. Maybe he was involved in the writing of this song. I'm not really sure. If you know, then share a comment. What has Karan Aujla's role in this song been? Because I don't think his vocals are in there. But you'll hear Gurlez Akhtar and her husband Kulvinder Kalli. Check it out.
सरदार नी मैं आखा क्यों क्यूटी नी तैनू आवे आउणा पूरा ताम जाम करके शुरू भी तेरे ना कुड़े एंड भी तेरे ना शुरू भी तेरे ना कुड़े एंड भी तेरे ना
And I really feel like I could make a podcast that lasts for hours with songs of Gurlez Akhtar and you would frankly not get bored. They're such amazing songs. What she lends her voice to, every single one I feel really in awe with what Gurlez Akhtar does with her songs. So I mentioned earlier on about VO2 max. I'm reading this other article in British GQ. The title is The Best Way to Test Your Fitness in 2023. So the article talks about different things that you can do and I'll skim through them. The beep test, you can test your fitness with that. Balancing on one leg for 10 seconds. The sit and reach test. BMI measurements, body mass index measurements. And the Cooper 12-minute walk run test. So I've not heard of that last one before, and that's interesting. I think that's the one that they're recommending. So let me read this paragraph to you. It says, now we've shifted through some of the most common fitness tests out there and exposed their shortcomings, it's time to take a look at a test that will actually do everything you want it to do. After conferring with, I won't read this, Lanzarote biomechanist Eduardo Di Alessio, Chopra, is that one person's name? Oh no, it's two people's name. Came up with the Cooper 12-minute walk test as the maximum test of aerobic fitness. Aha, okay, so they've called it the Cooper 12-minute walk run test. Okay, I'm reading. The purpose is to test aerobic fitness with participants running as fast and as far as they can on a flat track in 12 minutes. You then use the formulas below to calculate your VO2 max. I won't read out the formulas, but essentially they figured out this test. They're comparing it to things like the beep test. I'll put a link into the podcast. So if you want to read this in a bit more detail, please do. Essentially, as I touched on before, they're talking about VO2 max, and that this is the best test that they've created to find out what your fitness is. The Cooper 12-minute walk run test. So if you're interested in knowing about your fitness, look it up, the Cooper 12-minute walk run test. And that might be just the ideal test for you to understand what your fitness is and look for opportunity to make yourself even more fitter. So let's get back over to Gurlez Akhtar. She collaborated with Gur Sidhu on this song, Vaddi Gaal Baat. I'm a really big fan of this song. Every time I listen to it, it's been years. I remember during the pandemic, during lockdowns, when I first stumbled across this track, because I remember you remember those days, many of you may have experienced this, when you went shopping and you had to queue outside the supermarket for half an hour. Oh, that's bringing back memories for me. And anyway, I remember going into the supermarket, had my music on, and it was just playing, songs that I was not familiar with, maybe some of that I downloaded, and this one just brought a huge smile to my face. So I remember that in 2020. So I'm not playing you a brand new song, but come on, it's not that old. It's one of those songs which for me was I want to say instrumental, no pun intended, but it was the one that I listened to and I thought, this vocalist is amazing. Who is she? And I have to look at my mobile and see, oh, it's Gurlez Akhtar. Now, I had heard of her before then. Of course, I'd heard many songs, but every so often there's just this one song where you listen to it and think, I'm going to look out for songs by this person from now on. So I'm hoping you're going to feel that way about this song, Vaddi Gaal Baat.
ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਵੇ ਆ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮਰਵਾਉਣਗੇ ਜੱਟਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਵੇ ਆ ਪੰਜ ਸੱਤ ਤੇਰੇ ਯਾਰ ਵੇ ਲੱਗਦੀ ਆ ਛੋਟੀ ਵੇ
ਓ ਜਿਮ ਦਾ ਜਨੂਨ ਜੱਟ ਤੋੜਦਾ ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਲਾ ਦੂਗਾ ਨੀ ਦੱਸ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਥੱਲੇ ਮੁੱਛ ਨੂੰ ਮਰੋੜ ਅੰਨਾ ਹਿੱਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਫਿਰ ਜੱਟ ਸੱਦਾ ਦੱਸ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਚੱਲੇ
ਹੁੰਦੀ ਤੇਰੀ ਟੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਬੜੀ ਉਡੀਕਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਦਰਾਂ 'ਚ ਖੜੀ ਜਦ ਚੱਕਦਾ ਨੀ ਤੂੰ
So there you go, Gursidhu and Garlez Akhtar on Vaddi Galbaag. I've shared with you 3 songs, Afsana Khan, and give you a bit of history about her let's say her role and her profile in the music industry, and generally I think she's involved with like, you know, Big Boss and various things, and some things have backfired on her. It feels to me like maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're like, she's the most popular, you know, Punjabi artist in the world and I'm not paying attention. It's possible, but my observation is that Garlez Akhtar is doing extremely well. Everybody, it feels like every vocalist wants to work with her, and I think that's a very good thing, and long may that continue. And keep listening to this podcast, and I'll share with you as things move and, you know, different artists come along and new songs. I think that's personally I like to share that, so I hope you like to receive that. And I'll just finish on saying we're trying to do some new things with Bhangra, trying to get the videos back, the workout videos on YouTube later this year, so I hope you'll keep an eye out for those. And also we're trying to do some projects in West London to try and increase the number of classes. So if there's something you think maybe you could get involved with, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll guide you through how you can get involved, especially anybody who listens to these tracks and thinks, you know what, I want to stand at the front of a class, I want to teach people how to exercise. There might be a little part of you going, I don't think I can do it. You need to get over that. If I can do it, why can't you do it? I got 2 arms, 2 legs, okay? If you have a disability or something like that, I understand. But if you've got 2 arms, 2 legs and you have the passion for it, everything else will sort itself out. It's the attitude that comes first, the skills will come later. See you next time.